and welcome to Abstract Essay. Abstract Essay is created to empower artists all over the world, just like my guest today. She's an artist and, of course, an author too, no other than Dr. Vasu Tolia. Welcome to Abstract Essay, Miss Vasu, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Thank you, Daniel. I'm honored to be on your show. I am a physician by profession and training and a visual artist by passion. After a fulfilling career as a pediatric gastroenterologist in academia, I found myself drawn to the world of art when I retired. Um, it must have been something that lived quietly in the background in my life, but it seemed to surface a lot more that when I started to find a vocation to be productive even after I retired. So now I
Definitely.
create abstract and semi-abstract paintings inspired by nature, culture, and human experience. For me, art is not just about colors or strokes on canvas. It's about storytelling, healing, and evoking emotions we sometimes can't express in words. And I have experienced it myself as I was going through these career transitions. So it means a lot to me. So I have made my journey of transitioning from medicine to art a way of continuing my purpose to heal, but through a different medium. I'm really excited to dive into some of these untold stories with you and how art, science, and life experiences intersect in ways that might surprise us.
Definitely, Miss Vasutolia. Thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. So, what you typically get your inspiration for your work?
Uh, Most often, nature or things happening around us, like during the days of COVID, um, that was something that's pervading everybody's existence. So, and I saw firsthand, and I knew that I couldn't be in the front lines because I had just retired then. But that inspired me to make some artworks, related to COVID. And when one of those artworks was selected amongst top 20 in the nation by Washington Post, and then later CDC solicited that particular painting to put on the cover of the Journal of Emerging Infectious Diseases. It was a thrilling moment where my medicine and art came together.
Yes, congratulations,
Thank you.
Miss Vasu. And how does personal experiences influence artistic expression?
It absolutely does, because I could sit down in front of a blank canvas and think about what I want to make. In abstract art, there is no pre-planned procedure that I follow. I start with marks and brush strokes and colors and all, but sometimes it takes an altogether different direction, um, and something quite difficult than what I wanted it to, or different than what I wanted it to be, emerges. So there is a lot of spontaneity in doing it, but your mood of the day, what's happening around you, can all affect you. So it's such a personal experience that I have to say that I can't put it in words as to what that particular stimulation was, but I expressed it on my canvas. And another thing that I like to respond to are what are called calls. Um, when, like, there is a path to precision, I'm a lot into neuroarts right now because I have researched and looked into the effects of art on brain, and no matter what kind of art. So somehow from my canvas, those that violence and those kinds of things just don't occur to me to make. Even though there is a lot of bad things happening in the world, I try to respond to it by creating soft, soothing works. Hopefully, that will give some calm to people.
Definitely. So, Miss Vasu, what role does emotion play in creative process?
Everything. Because,
Everything, yes.
yes, the colors you choose, the strokes you make, the substrate you pick, whether canvas or wood or paper, um, all of those things, affect what you want to make. And like if you had a fight with a colleague or bad words with somebody in the household or something like that, you might not, feel that calm that day. Uh, but the beauty of the practicing any kind of art is that when you get involved in creating what you want to do, you will lose yourself in a zone and forget about that and feel much better. It will de stress you. So I think both for the creator and also for the viewer, um, a lot of emotions are evoked. And in abstract art, it is obviously the viewer who has to experience whatever they experience and then interconnect with the artist to see, to communicate and see, what the artist thought at the end of finishing that painting. And that kind of interchange I have seen at show openings and galleries to be very productive, in the sense that when you look at it from a different angle, it may mean different things to you. And person who had no involvement in creating it and the way they perceive it, it's totally different. But I think it engages them in a very productive way.
Certainly, art that brings life to your living spaces, as Miss Vasu created. So, how important is originally in art, and how can artists develop your unique style?
Um, Artists can, they have to find their own style. They might want to emulate an artist and make stuff in that style. I primarily work in mixed media and acrylics on canvas, although I do work on paper. Sometimes these days I have made some small works on the vinyl CDs. Now we no longer watch CDs, everything is streamed and all that. They were lying in my garage, and I just decided to do some art on it. And I'm going to call it my musical CDs in different vibrant colors. So it's really a matter of deciding, what you want to do. Um, I have, as far as emulation, like, some of the Europeans and a few American artists are considered masters, like Van Gogh and Picasso and Monet, and
Yes.
those kinds of people. So what I did is I created a series, like you had it right there, the Ganesha. That's vibrant painting is my prediction of the Indian demigod Ganesha in Van Gogh style.
Mm,
So I
yes.
created Ganesha in several different style, like Picasso and Mondrian,
Monet.
Kandinsky, and all that. So that kind of emulation, um, where you apply your own thing to somebody's style to learn about it because you like it, or just to create a series of things on the same demigod, but in different styles. So that's a matter of very personal preference.
So, Miss Vasu, let's talk about the techniques and process. What are the some essential techniques for beginners in painting, drawing, or sculpture?
I I don't do sculpture, so I'm afraid I won't be able to answer that. But in painting, like they start with the concept of colors and basic things like shadowing, light and shadow, the lines. how to make them soft or dark or uneven so that it creates interest. Um, the thing about me is, Daniel, I am a self-taught artist. I haven't been to an art school to learn certain kinds of basics. So I probably don't always conform to all what the standards are. So I have my own style, and it seems to appeal to many people. So I feel, and most importantly, I feel happy with the end product of what I create, and that's what matters most. And if others also find that particular piece of art to be equally appealing or more appealing and beautify their space, it gives me a lot of joy, because if they choose my art, they are not only making their space calming or inspiring, because I also make inspiring women's art in different roles, but they will also contribute to a purpose, because I'm involved with three charities for women's empowerment, mental health awareness, and for kids with autism. And they can choose to give a portion of I give a fixed portion of the sales to the charity of the choice. So I think it's purposeful art, and that helps me fulfill my missions in life too.
Certainly. Totally agree, Miss Vasu. What are the some ways artists can experiment with different materials and techniques?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this question, because just last month I attended a workshop called Alcohol Ink Workshop, which is
Yes.
a substrate medium I had never worked with. So it requires a special type of paper, um, because you spread it with air or with brush and things like that. So I learned an entirely new technique, and I really liked it. I find myself continuously educating myself, just like the continuing medical education, into learning new techniques and things like that. So if anybody is interested after taking some basic lessons, if they connect with their local art centers, then I'm sure they can find different kinds of workshops they could benefit from. They may have to try a couple of different kinds in the beginning to know what medium works best for them or what they like to do. And it's a part of experimentation to rediscover yourself in a different way.
Certainly. What is the importance of composition and balance in visual art?
Traditionally, it's extremely important, and the compositions are of so many different kinds. Um, like, you don't want the viewer to lead out of the painting. You want them to focus and have a focal point, and have what is called a golden triangle to have your focal points in, if you divide the canvas into nines and all that. But many of those principles are not always followed, and it all depends on the overall effect. And see, I can create a piece of art, but until the viewer engages with it, I mean, I can create a painting, I don't want to call it art, but until viewer engages with it, it's not really art. When someone else appreciates and engages with it, then I think the purpose of art is served.
Certainly. So, Miss Basu, what will be your advice for those people out there who want to start their paintings?
Anyone can paint. Anyone can do any kind of art if they set their heart on it. And it doesn't just have to be drawing, painting, coloring. It can be music, dancing. Sometimes people cook, knit, sew. Whatever appeals to them can be, their passion and vocation. Um, and but when they do it, if they set their heart on it, start with slow things in the beginning, because there will be frustrations when you start something new, like a child learning to take first few steps and tumbling and things like that. So don't give up. Keep at it. if that's what you want to do and that what's gives you joy, or you have a role model you're following. So persistence and perseverance is what we will get you to where you would like to be. And sometimes you may not even want to be a full scale artist, which is the most common thing. But there are things about art exercises and that that will still give you calm and take away your mind off the stresses of everyday life. So just practicing some doodling, journal writing, those kinds of things also really help just to get over some bumps.
Certainly. So, what would be your short term and long term goals in painting, Miss Vasu?
Um, my long term goal is to continue to spread the message of art as a healing process that will engage people and give them um, a lot of soothing, mindful effects, um, whether they make it or they view it. And I envision sometime in future that just like how we take care of ourselves, like with the diet and nutrition and exercise these days, the awareness of all these things a lot more than what used to be 20 years ago. The same way, practicing some kind of artful vocation will be part of our routine just to be able to handle the life. On a short term, I just want to learn anything new that fascinates me and continue to make the art that I'm doing. Um, One of the other long term goals is also spreading this message by giving lectures and doing those kinds of workshops. Um, so I look forward to a lot in future.
Likewise, Miss Vasu. Good luck to your goals and thank you for your advice. So let's talk about art and society, about paintings. How has technology changed the way art is created and shared?
The technology, I think the biggest thing that comes up is the artificial intelligence, because these days you can create art, just let the robot do it. Um, but it doesn't have that humane appeal depending on what you like to have on your walls. But putting that aside, because that's a matter of very personal preference, um, the technology, brings all the materials and commodities, the ways of learning at our fingertips, in the sense with the click of a button on YouTube, you could just learn, and educate yourself all these different techniques. Um, I feel once you have done a few in person, face to face with a teacher, then acquiring these additional techniques becomes much easier because you know the materials and how to handle them and work with new materials. And also, I think technology has been a blessing. You can go and look up your inspiration. Um, like, I want to see Van Gogh's paintings, I can just go online and see them and look at the style and study it and see how I can apply it in the artwork that I want to do by just using the strokes, but not copy the master like that. So I think technology has been very good. And if we use the right way, it can continue to help us even more.
Certainly. So, what are the challenges of being professional artists in today's world?
Oh, you, you hit a sore point. I think it's very challenging for people who want to make a living out of it, unless they are very well established, gallery positioned, famous artists. Otherwise, most of us have another day job which they work at while pursuing art as a hobby. and slowly develop more and more interest. Uh, but with time, if you continue to evolve and have a certain kind of direction, um, I'm sure nice things will come along the way and make it easier. But for a starting artist, um, it can be a big struggle.
Certainly. Certainly, Miss Vasu. So before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Book 101 Review, in its fifth season, people, fifth season, with my feature author of the month of March, Miss Angela Henry, award-winning and best-selling author. So please do listen. Book 101 Review wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Vasu, how does art contribute to mental well-being and personal growth?
Well, art has such a manifold effect on our brain, um, and there is actual science behind it. It's not just a matter of conjecture. Um, Artworks have a unique power to engage our brains in ways that just a plain sheet of cloth or something of the same color will not. They light up multiple areas in our brain, including those responsible for emotions and memory. And that's what makes it memorable. And the real magic happens when engaging with an artwork triggers the brain chemicals that deepen the connection between the viewer and the artwork. For example, like dopamine makes that artwork stick in your mind, a hormone called oxytocin, which is usually liberated during pregnancy and all, but it's a normally present hormone. It fosters trust and connection between the viewer and the artwork or story or whatever they are engaged in. And the cortisol keeps you hooked during the moments of tension and conflict. And every artwork usually has a little bit of tension built into it to make it interesting. So, this is whenever these chemicals are at play, they form an emotional bridge that pulls the viewers in, and that's what diverts them also from whatever is bothering them and just de stress from everyday routine.
Miss Vasu or Doctora Vasu Tolia, thank you so much for sharing your paintings to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your paintings?
Sure. Thank you for having me, Daniel. I truly believe that art, whether it's a hanging on a wall, as a fabric that you wear, or simply just experience it by making it or viewing it, is a gentle way to reconnect ourselves and the world around us. If today's conversation has resonated with the audience, I would love to offer your listeners a free download of a set of exercises just to casually practice and see how it engages them. It is called Self Love for the Art of Transformation. It's a simple way to bring calm and creativity in their lives. You will find the link in the show notes and also by visiting my website at www.vasutolia.art. And remember, everybody's story matters, and sometimes colors and brushstrokes tell it the best. So if they go to my website with a slash and say self love for art of transformation, they will be able to reach this download.
Doctora Vasutolia, thank you so much for your time. And people, let's support her because if you support her, more and more empowering paintings to come. So, Miss Doctora Valutolia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.